Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, and we're going to do my weekly wrap-up. I have read quite a few books, or finished quite a few books this week, because I was trying to finish so many things at the end of February and make it, which I didn't. I carried over 5 books into March, and I've already tried to finish as many of those as I can. So we're going to jump right into it and get going. If I sound a little bit different, it's because I'm a little bit sick. I think it's just allergies, but anyway, I barely have a voice, but we're going to go with it anyway. So the first thing I finished was The Sparrow. This was the birthday read for Amy from A Star Reads. She requested this book. She said it was one of her favorites. And so I read it for her birthday month. And it was really good. First of all, it was sci-fi and I didn't know anything about it. And also it is a debut novel for this writer. She's written a ton since then, but this was her first novel. And I looked at a little interview and somebody asked her, like, if you could go back and change what your first novel was, where maybe it would be more accepted, like, would you do that? And she said, well, maybe, because my first novel was Jesuits in Space. And when you hear that, you're just like, oh, that's weird. But it was so much more than that. Like, their first contact has been made, and this group of people goes out to make contact with the alien race that they have discovered or heard or whatever. And they send some Jesuits. Like, they're the main ones that are sponsoring this trip, are Jesuit priests. And so it's just kind of what happens to them, but it's a group of, I think there are 6 or 7 of them. There's not a ton of them, but there are enough. And they send them out to do the greeting, right? To like learn about this culture. They also, one of the priests is a linguist, which is very cool. Like, he already speaks a ton of languages, and he shows up there and is like able to not only learn what language they're speaking, but give them English words so that they can start learning English at the same time. It's just really cool, that whole part of it. But the way the story is told is so interesting to me. Like, so it's told in present tense, or present time, which is the future for us. But it goes back in time to 2017, which is when first contact was made, when they heard the aliens. And so it flashes back and forth. Like, we know what happens at the end, the very beginning. We know what has happened. Out of this group of people that went there, only one person has returned. And so this person, we're seeing what's happening to them in the present, but then at the same time, we're getting these back and forth and back and forth. So we learn what happened to the story that led up to this one person being the only one left. So it was just so good to me. I really enjoyed it. I know that it's hit or miss for a lot of people, and because they are Jesuit priests, there are discussions of religion in here, but it's not in the way that you would think, because actually one of our main characters is kind of battling with his beliefs and like who is God, and is God the God of all of these alien people as well? Like, so it's just something that he's having to wrestle with. So anyway, I liked the whole thing. Okay, and the next book that I finished was The Dragon Reborn. This is book 3 in the Wheel of Time, and I'm just reading this with Andrew from Get Right On In. We're going through each one of the books. We're going to average about 1 book a month, but we're not worried about that timeline. We're just reading a couple of chapters every day, and when we finish a book, we just go right into the next book in a couple of chapters. So that's the way we're doing this now. Django needed to say hi, so hi, Django. Okay. The Dragon Reborn, I thought was okay. It felt like a lot of stuff was going on, but not a lot of stuff that was moving us forward in the whole like meta narrative of the whole storyline. So I don't know. Andrew said that he messaged me when we were almost done with the book, and he said, I feel like this is like in Lord of the Rings when the tree ants are meeting and the ants have been talking forever and ever, and Merry and Pippin are like, can we go? And Treebeard's like, oh, well, we've only just now said hello. So it kind of feels like that. Like, this whole book, you're like, oh, so many things are happening. Can we go on to the thing? And it's like, oh, we're just now saying hello. So it's just, it moved really slowly, I guess I would say. But I'm thinking of all of these books as chapters in the whole Wheel of Time story. I know I've said that before, and I think that just changes the way that I feel about it because I know I'm reading this as a whole series, and I don't normally do that with books. I normally read a book from a series, and then I'll wait a while before I read the next book. So it's a unique experience for me, and I'm really liking it like this. I'm actually thinking that when I finish The Dragon Reborn, I might just slide another series in there and do a series continuously the same way that I'm doing Wheel of Time. I think I just called it Dragon Reborn, but Wheel of Time in the same kind of way. So we are finished with that, and I'm actually currently reading The Shadow Rising, which is the next book, because as soon as we finish one, we just start the next one. The next thing I finished was First Writer's Call. This is book 2 in the Green Rider series, and this one we're reading over on Fina's channel, Fina Reads. I'll link it below, but we're discussing it actually right before this video goes up. So for me, it's in the future. For you, it's in the past. So when you see this, you can go watch that live stream if you want to know what we all thought of the First Writer's Call. This is book 2, like I said, and we're reading one book a month. So I'm kind of doing the same thing with this series as I was with The Dragon Reborn. So I don't know, maybe I'm doing this more than I think I am. But anyway, I called it The Dragon Reborn again instead of Wheel of Time, but you knew what I meant, right? Okay. In this book, we have Kel. I think that's her name. And she is officially a Green Rider. We meet her at the beginning when she's like amongst some of the other riders, and they're actually escorting somebody back. And the overall story is that a wall is crumbling, and the wall is holding back a big evil. And so as the wall is destabilizing, they're trying to figure out how to restore the wall. And at the same time, she is trying to figure out what it even means to be a Green Rider, and if she wants to go the way it looks like she's going to have to go, and what that means. And there's just so many things that I can't say because it's going to give away things. I will say this, it's called The First Writer's Call, and we do get to meet the first rider, and I really liked that part of the whole thing. So while it was not maybe a wonderful book, and I don't think I liked it as much as I liked the first one, I did like a lot of aspects of it. There's a lot of flashbacks that really worked for me. Normally I'm not wild about flashbacks told in that kind of way, but I thought that they worked really well in this one. Okay, then I read Frankly in Love. This was one of the card picks that I got for my February TBR for the color. It was a color generator pick, and so I read Frankly in Love. I loved this so much. It's a contemporary fiction book. It's sometimes listed under romance, but I don't think I would list it as romance on my call pile. I just listed it as a contemporary fiction. It is about Frank Lee, whose name is L.I. is his last name. And there are quite a few jokes where people are like, well, frankly, I think, just like the title. So he is navigating what it means to be a senior in high school and also to be Korean American. His parents, his older sister, came home with a boyfriend who was non-Korean, and his parents kind of disowned her. And so he is just dealing with the same kind of issues, like, well, what if I fall in love with this kind of person? And what if I fall in love with the right kind of person for my parents, but that's not really who I love? And so he's just dealing with all of these things that at the same time he's taking the SAT test and doing all of the stuff that you do when you're a senior in high school. And so there's just so many little things happening at the same time, but it was so good. And I loved the surrounding characters. He has a best friend. His best friend has a twin sister that both of them are in here. He has all of these Korean friends that get together once a month with their parents for like this hangout thing, and just describing all of the things and the food. Like it just, I don't know, everything just made me feel like I was there in it with Frank, and I absolutely loved this book. Then I read Gone by Mo Hayder, and this book scared me. First of all, this book, I also drew this book somehow. It was an award winner, an Edgar Award winner for 2012, I think, maybe 2013. I'll put it up here on the screen. But this book was so good. I had to go look up Mo Hayder. I wanted to read more books from them. She was a British writer and she passed away. So there are some books, but there will not be any more books. And they're mystery thrillers. This one specifically is about a serial killer / kidnapper situation where this woman got carjacked and her daughter was still in the back seat of the car, and what they found out was maybe the carjacker knew that and picked them because the child was still in the car. And there we go. So our detective is searching for the missing child and the carjacker / kidnapper. This is a part of a series about this one detective, and this is like book 4 or 5. I don't care. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to know everything that happened before. I jumped right into this. I didn't realize that it was book 4 or 5 when I picked it up, but it was totally fine. And I had no issue like sliding right in and knowing what was going on. It was really well written. Like I said, it was so spooky and atmospheric. Like, my son works late at night every night and I go pick him up. And when I got outside to go pick him up, I was looking around everywhere. Like, is there somebody out here? Like, I never do that, but I was scared because I was reading that book. Finally, the last book that I finished, which I just finished yesterday, is Take a Hint, Dani Brown. This book was because I had read the first book in the series, and so I drew this card to continue with my series. So this is the one I got. And I really enjoyed book 1. I read it so long ago that I couldn't remember like little details about it and stuff. So it was nice to just be reminded of this family and be back in the Talia Hibbert writing style. This was just a straightforward romance, although it had fake dating in it. So yes, thank you. I did not know ahead of time that it had fake dating, but that is my trope, and I was so excited about it. Now, it did have some parts where I was just like, okay, like, I understand. Like, I really enjoyed it, but I did not love it. And I don't know if it's because my writing tastes are just shifting because I've been reading so many more genres that I don't know what's going on, but I have not found a romance that I have just absolutely loved in a really long time. So I'm kind of sad about that. So like I said, I don't know what the issue is with that or what's going on with that, but I want it to change. I want to find a good romance that I absolutely love. Now, quickly, let's talk about what I'm still reading and what I'm planning to read, and then I have one more thing to show you. So what I'm still reading is I have The Brave from the library. I love this book so much. I know I'm not very far into it. Well, I'm almost halfway into it. And it is adorable. I just love it so much, so much, so much. Surely nothing's going to happen in the second half of this book that's going to make me hate it. So right now it's absolutely a 5-star. I'm also reading The Suck Stops Here. This is the final book in the First Fangs Club series. This is a mystery where just a woman who is married to a mob boss, as you are, gets turned into a vampire. And that's what happened. That's what happened in book 1. Now I'm all the way to book 4. So we'll see how it all wraps up. What is next after that is The Hitman's Guide to Making Friends and Finding Love, which is a long title. I've only read a couple of books by her, and they're romances, but they're absolutely hilarious. Like, she makes me laugh out loud. So I'm really hoping that I like this one. This is a series. Again, it came up when I drew a card to read a series. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about, I really hope that you've stuck around for this, but because my videos in April are going to look different and I have done something different with book hauls, I'm going to go ahead and go over a book haul right now that I just got in the mail, okay? First of all, everything up here on this shelf, except for Rose Madder, let me scoot it down, okay? Everything up here on this shelf, that top shelf, there are short stories collections, essay collections, anything like that that's short fiction or nonfiction. And That's what I've been reading from every day. So I have them all on a spreadsheet, and I pick a number every day, and whatever number I pick, I read the next story in that book. So I guess you can say that I'm kind of reading all of those, although there's some that I have not started at all. So some of those are new, and I got them since the last, and then I have a couple more that are going to be added up there. So I'm going to show you those first. I got them on a book outlet sale that they were having. And this one might be the only one. Growing Old, Notes on Aging with Something Like Grace. So I just thought that this would be a really cool book to explore, as everybody is growing old, but it feels like me specifically. So that one will be added up there in the thing, and then it'll be added onto my spreadsheet. And when I get it, I'll read the first thing in here. Okay, and then the rest of these are novels, so I'm just going to go through them like I have them stacked here. This is Blackfish City by Sam J. Miller. This just looks like a sci-fi, doesn't it? I really am not sure what it is, but it looks like a sci-fi, and it looked good when I was ordering these all on sale, so that's why I got it. The Vexations by Caitlin Horrocks. I don't know how to say her last name, but I will look that up. Anyway, this cover, the brightness of outside does not let you see how cool this cover is. Also, it's one of those that feels kind of gritty. I love them. Then we have Alive by Scott Siegler. I just really think that this is cool. No rules, no law, no chance. The back of it, you know how a lot of times they'll say, like, a Game of Thrones or whatever. This one says a cross between Lord of the Flies and the Maze Runner. Wow. Okay. Then I got a romance, The Dating Dare by J.C. Lee. This one looked like it would be interesting. 1 dare, 4 dates, only their heart to lose. So I got this. This sounded so cool. Ask Me Anything. Okay. Yes, I just hit myself in the head. PZ Reason? I don't know. This says, here's what I know about it, okay? Because I don't like to read synopsis, but her household things are talking to her. And it says, you need to leave the house more. This one says, your boyfriend is a cheater. And this one says, you're out of milk. So all I know is that there's something to do with the electronically enhanced things in her house somehow talking to her. So that's all I know, and it sounded like it would be funny and interesting. And the last one I got from Book Outlet was an autographed copy of The Red Daughter, John Burnham Schwartz. This is an historical fiction novel, and it looks like it's pretty short. So this is definitely something that I'm going to add to my list, and I will be picking this up when I get to it. That's all that I got from Book Outlet, but that's not all that I got. I got one more thing that I want to show you guys. I recently did an interview / chat with Steve and Joseph Sale from Steve Talks Books over on his channel. And we were talking about meaning in literature. And Joseph is an editor. He's a writer, but he's also an editor. And so we were talking about how maybe you add more meaning as you go through the editing process, and what does meaning even mean? Like, can you write something that literally has no meaning? What is the meaning to the writer versus the reader? Like, all kinds of stuff about just meaning in literature. And I had so much fun over there. And when I got there, I realized that Joseph was a writer, and I had never read any of his stuff. So I went on Amazon. Well, first, I asked him in the interview, where should we start with your stuff? And he suggested starting with Dark Hilarity. So, I mean, it looks creepy. That's some kind of monster thing on the front of it. And I haven't read the back, which I'm not going to, because you know that I don't like to read the synopsis. So I'm going to go in blind with what looks to be some kind of werewolf thingy with red eyes on the cover of this. So that is going to do it for this wrap up. Thank you for sticking around for this long. If you have, let me know what your favorite book was that you read this week, or if you finished anything this week, what was it? Also, what are you excited for that's coming up next week? I can tell you that I'm excited about potential visitors that we're having next week, and there might be an extra person chatting with me on my wrap up next week, a special guest star. So I hope that you have a great week, and I'll see you back in my next video. Bye.